The webinar has started.
Welcome to Mind Types After Dark, Ridgley.
Indeed, it is. Mind Types After Dark, baby. All
Uh,
good.
welcome the good people. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, man.
Another fabulous session.
I'm excited about this one. This is going to be cool. Got
Oh,
some great
well,
people coming on and
it's
cool
an
hot
incredible.
seats to work on. Lots of
Exactly.
requests ahead of time. Just reminding everybody that that's what we're here for. If you've got stuff that we need to work on, send it to us.
Yes, sir.
And we definitely do this time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so welcome, 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 everyone.
So,
So originally,
so Hubert, so next week, I'm going up to Atlanta to speak at this event a couple times, right?
yeah.
And very excited to talk about mind types and limbic messaging and all that stuff. But they needed another talk on overcoming limiting beliefs, right?
Oh boy.
Which I've done a lot of. And I have one, and I'll grab the case here.
Yeah.
Uh, and this one's about overcoming limited beliefs. I'll share it with everybody. As you can
Ah,
see,
Tiburon.
we're done, right? It's called How to Swim with the Sharks and Win. And in here, I have the of four key points of how to win by swimming with sharks. Number one is understanding that we all have sharks, and we got to understand those and recognize those and honor those. Number two is that if we have them, our team has them too, maybe even more. And number three is that leadership is never by bossing anybody around. It's always by example. Let's do this together. And number four is that the greatest leaders are those who serve others the most, right? Those are 4 points. But here is the interesting part about this. I have not given this speech in like a decade maybe or something like that, and if you'll notice it's not in English right, but I have to give this speech next Wednesday in English after not doing it for a decade, at which point I was only doing it in Spanish. So this
Originally,
should be a
I
unique adventure is all I'm saying.
I can assure you that your muscle memory is still there. And just to fill in the gaps of, for our membership here, that some we have some hardcore Ridgely Goldsboro fans and some others that are new to the world of Ridgely Goldsboro. But originally, explain to the good folks why you're so conversant in Spanish and tell us which major English speaking personal development guru you were actually the voice for in Spanish. Tell us that whole thing if you would in 30 seconds.
Yeah, no. So real quick, my parents divorced when I was 6 years old, and my dad said to my mom, "Get out." Mom said bye and took off for Europe. And I was bounced around from country to country. And every time we moved to a new country, mom said, "Here's your new school. Learn the language or be quiet." And so that's how I picked up French and Spanish and Catalan because I was in Spain from ages of 10 to 17. And then I got to the University of Virginia and I asked myself, what is the easiest major I can possibly have so I can party all the time, hang out with girls, and just love college? Spanish. Awesome. So I signed up to be a Spanish major. And the head of the department pulled me aside one day and said, Ridgely, we're friends. You play on my soccer team. I did. I played on his club soccer team. He said, if you want to stay in my department, you are going to take courses that are commensurate with your knowledge of Spanish. Otherwise, you're out. I said, okay, that sounds cool, being young and naive. And before you know it, I was the youngest undergraduate student in the graduate Spanish literature program in the history of the University of Virginia. The guy who showed up with people 4 years older than me and argued with the resident poet about the meaning of his own poetry because I was just young and arrogant and didn't know any different. But from there, it went on, and I speak Spanish just like I'm speaking to everybody right now. And one day I was sitting in Dallas, Texas, when I was part of the Success Trading Network, which was a personal growth um, channel on television created by Mark Cuban. And Kyle Wilson, the president of Jim Rohn International, said, "Hey, you speak Spanish, right?" And I said, "Yeah, Kyle, just like I'm talking to you right now." And he said, "How would you like to be the voice of Jim Rohn in Latin America?" And I looked back at him and I said, "Kyle, let me think about that for a little bit." Yes. And from that point forward, I became Jim Rohn's voice for Latin America. I traveled all over Latin America with Jim Rohn. Incredible memory. He was my mentor for a long time. We'd stand side by side on stage, and Jim would talk in English, and then I'd have to repeat it in sentences in Spanish like a translator. And every now and then he'd make a joke, and I'd go, how the hell do I translate that? I don't know, but it was a great experience. And Jim Rohn will forever be a great mentor to me and very close to him. And by the way, I still, to this day, all of the books of Jim Rohn, The Seasons of Life, The Five Pieces, all of those books are in my voice in Spanish. And I'm very grateful. Every now and then they send me a royalty check for $67 or $73 for the last
But
6 months,
finally,
whatever.
Ridgley, you know how to tell folksy stories in Espanol.
I do. Even Jim Rohn stories. So it's all good. All
Okay,
right.
so as a fan of languages and linguistics, Ridgley, I have a joke for you. Okay,
Mm.
actually, the past, the present, and the future walk into a bar. It was tense.
Oh my God. Okay. I can see where we're going tonight already. This is good.
Folks. All right, folks. Tonight it's Mind Types After Dark, and we're here to discuss the mind types. And we have a special featured um, by request, special request, laser focus hot seat that we're gonna grill some people about originally. But let's start off on the mind type side. Originally, on the two emails that I've sent announcing this thing, I actually forwarded people copies of your video that you did for an outfit called Wealth Fit.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to have the people, the good people, realize that knowing your own mindset, okay, and your mind type as a result of the things that you do automatically, it's a tool, it's a gift that you can actually rely on for all kinds of things in your life, including finances. So we don't often talk about it here, originally, because we concentrate on the, the marketing aspects and promoting your business. But the mind type aspect of it, many of us here on the mastermind have been with us for a long time now. And, some are frankly beyond the basics, although many people I see looking at the names here are new and could use the basics. Could you give us a couple of minutes more on the legacy side and kind of give us like the advanced version of why mind types is so important and how it can even affect things like relationships and wealth management?
Well, so just to give a sense, um, I wrote this book with the founder of a large financial services company. And you can see on the back, what do we see here? The mind types. And this particular book is all about how does each of our mind types influence the way we view the world and particularly the way we act with money. What is money? How does it affect money in our lives? And it's a very big deal because you're absolutely right. Whatever your mind type is, it completely affects how you see other people, how you see them based on their mind type, how you act in the world with respect to relationships, with respect to finances, with respect to yourselves. So it's super important. So
Right. So
just to
now
make this even more fun,
I'm sorry, before you drop any more knowledge about wealth in respect to the mind types, for the purposes of a review, I know you brought your cards with you. Can you just run us through the basic list of mind types, what they're known for, just so that the people here could decide, see what they vibe to in terms of a mind type, please?
yeah, and I can definitely do that. So there are 7 different mind types, and think of your mind type as the way in which you survived as a youngster when you did not have that much formative thought going on. You were looking for overcoming fight or flight stuff. So very primitive behavior, primitive feelings that cause you to act a particular way that became so cemented in your psyche that you will act that particular way for the rest of your life. The saying leopards don't change their spots kind of thing is 100% true. Our way of viewing the world um, is set very early on in life. We can learn what that is and learn what the superpower that goes along with that is, along with the kryptonite. Our success in this world is immensely determined by how well we optimize our superpower and minimize our kryptonite and understand the dynamics between us and everyone else that's out there. And when you do that, it's A, super empowering. It is B, very rewarding because you know where you shine. And most of us, if not all of us, want to stay in the place that we shine most of the time and go to those places where we don't shine as little as possible. All that being said, let's jump in and then I'll circle back, Hubert, and we'll discuss the mind types in terms of their relationship with money,
That'd
which
be
I think
awesome.
would be very interesting for everyone. And then again, we have a hot seat and a big work session. And I can see that there are people from both of those organizations on this call right now, which is awesome. Here we go. Number one, the giver. The giver is the person that always wants to make a difference, add value, uh, contribute in some way. Their superpower is causes. They're always contributing in causes in one way or another, whether that's helping the neighbor, bringing donuts to the team at the office, if you have an office, uh, jumping into the PTA or whatever it may be. Causes are the superpower of the giver. They have a hard time saying no, as a result of which the kryptonite of the giver is overcommitment. They say yes to too many things, and it takes away their ability to go after their own dreams and goals on a constant basis. Number two, the connector. The connector is the person for whom bonds and relationships are everything. They do what they say they're going to do. They show up when they say they're going to show up. Their superpower is trust, and they will go to great lengths to demonstrate that they can be trusted and that they are trustworthy to the point where they do the extra and then the extra and then the extra and then a little bit more after that to prove their trustworthiness. Problem is, it doesn't work because the rest of the world doesn't see that that's what they're doing. They just think that they're nice. Oh, that person's so nice. Always going out of their way, always doing the extra. So the kryptonite of the connector is waste. They waste a lot of time and energy attempting to prove trustworthiness that doesn't resonate with any other mind type, of which there are 6 others. Number 3, the problem solver, the person that makes sense out of things. They take in data at warp speed, process it, and come up with options, alternatives, possibilities for the rest of us. They clarify things, they simplify things. Their superpower is solutions. That's what they do. They come up with solutions very fast. The challenge is when the problem solver doesn't have enough data to process to make their brain feel like it's okay, I've got enough here, their brain melts down and they go to mush and they get the dumb look. That look where you know that there's somebody there, but there's not really anybody there. Mentally, the kryptonite of the problem solver is paralysis. They get into paralysis. They're not able to move until they get out of paralysis. Number 4, the innovator, the person that's always looking for a better way to do anything and everything, constantly asking questions. Well, what about this? And what about that? And what if we tried this? And how about this thing over here? Their superpower is improvements. They're great at innovating and finding improvements for anything and everything, whether that's reorganizing an office or setting up a new manufacturing plant or whatever. What's the kryptonite? They love to change things to make them better. Doesn't matter if it makes sense, doesn't matter if it's economically smart, doesn't matter if it upsets the morale. They just want to change things. So change for change's sake is the innovator's biggest challenge. Next, you have the perfectionist, the person that understands if you do A, then B, then C, then D, E is predictable. These are people who do things the right way. There's a right way to do things, and things should be done right in an organized fashion. They hate chaos. They restore order. Their superpower is systems. Systems create predictability. Systems put things in order. Systems organize things. What's the kryptonite? Rigidity. They're often a little bit too much my way or the highway. And their way is not the only way. There's always another way. So not necessarily super creative per se. Next, the rebel. The rebel is the person that thinks differently, lives outside the box. These are the disruptors, the people that create the new normals for the rest of us that they, in fact, believe are quite the norm, quite the normal. Their superpower is challenge. They challenge the norm. They challenge the status quo. They challenge the middle of the road. They challenge the vanilla in life. And as a result of challenging pretty much everything, people reject them and their kryptonite becomes isolation. They end up stuck in a box of their own imposition or because others push them away because they get sick of being challenged. And finally, you have the master. The master is the person that's always looking to take things to the next level. These are the super brainiacs. These are the people with immense intellectual capabilities that want to figure the things out that they care about to the nth degree, to master those things. Their superpower is depth. They go deep on whatever they care about. They're generally pretty smart about almost everything, but when they care about something, they're ridiculous. What is their kryptonite? Their brain power is so much greater than most of us that they kind of go down rabbit holes and tend to make things overly complicated for everybody else. So complexity is the kryptonite of the master. Good so far? All right. So with that in mind, let's talk about, and again, and I'll do quick recaps. The giver. The giver is the person that loves to make a difference, add value, right? Their superpowers causes, their kryptonite overcommitment. So what happens to them with money? Everybody knows they have a hard time saying no. Everybody knows they want to contribute. So holding on to money is difficult for the giver. It's a real challenge. They have a tendency to put it out. Oh, I'll help. Oh, it's okay. Well, I don't need to think about myself. I'll just think about you. And so holding on to money is difficult for the giver. And the giver really needs to understand that to the point where givers generally have to put someone between them and their money, like a financial advisor who can be tough or whatever, because otherwise they'll end up possibly giving it all away. Next, you have the connector. Well, the connector is all about trust. So a lot of times the connectors are the opposite of the giver. They're not going to give the money away. They're going to hold on to it so that they can hold on to their security. They value safety above all else. So they can be very frugal, maybe even cheap, right? Because they're not the people who are going to part with their money because money creates my safe zone. I'm in good shape. Then you have the problem solver. The problem solver makes sense out of things, clarifies things, etc., which means that they're pretty good with coming up with ways of making money. Let me see if I can make sense out of this. Let me see if I can do that. But it also means that they're good at making sense out of why they don't need to hold on to this money or why they can make this investment that maybe isn't the best possible investment. I found a lot of problem solvers end up in CEO positions, so they're good at making money. Holding on to it is a whole nother story, which is equally important, right? So very important if you are a problem solver to understand both sides of that dynamic. You find ways of doing things. You also find ways of justifying what you do, right? And that's a very dangerous thing to do. Superpower of the problem solver, of course, is solutions. Then you have the innovator, better way people. So better way people are also shiny penny people, right? They're always seeing the shiny penny moving in that direction. So these people will invest over here and then they'll invest over there and then they'll invest over in this other side and then they'll invest in this other place over here and can very quickly find themselves over invested or with too much money spread out all over the place and trying to wonder what's the better way here? What's the better way? So then you move to the perfectionists. Again, perfectionists think there's a right way to do things and that things should be done right. They generally have only one track that they run down. So if that track happens to be a track of saving money and investing, then perfectionists are generally going to be in better shape than most by a fair margin because they'll be, that's what we do. I take X amount of money from my paycheck and it automatically goes to my financial advisor. And my financial advisor has a plan. And we meet once a year and they tell me what to do and how I'm doing and da da da. And they keep on going because they're rigid. Rigidity can be very good for money when it comes to the perfectionist. Then you have the rebel. So where's the rebel? The rebel's challenging everything. They challenge the norm. They challenge the status quo. They're going to challenge traditional ways of making money and holding on to money. And here's the thing about money for those of us who've been studying this for a long time, it follows rules. Money follows simple rules. If you can understand the rules of money, it's just an energy, then you're going to end up doing a lot better with money. Rules are a real problem for the rebel. So that could end up being a challenge. And then finally, you have the master. Masters go deep on things, they learn a great deal. They also overcomplicate stuff. Remember, complexity is the kryptonite of the master. So the master, very different from the perfectionist, will be like, well, I'm gonna really understand this money thing, but I'm gonna overcomplicate it for my own self. Whereas a perfectionist might just say, hey, all I got to do is take my 10% and put it in the bank, and there you go. So masters can get themselves in trouble because of the rabbit holes that they go down, even though they might have a much greater understanding of money than anyone else. And any questions, if anybody, I know you're monitoring the chat for me, Hubert, because obviously I can't do that while I'm sharing information. If anyone has any questions about this money and the mind types, please just throw those into the chat because I'll be happy to tackle them right now while we're having this session, because it is a big deal. When you understand yourself, that's good. Understanding what is the solution to the kryptonite of money per mind type can help you lead a much more secure and safe life as you keep moving forward. So, Huey, if you got any questions for me, hit me up. Except that you need to unmute because otherwise we can't hear you.
I got tricked again. Alrighty. So yes, we do have some very kind comments and questions in the chat, so that's great, everybody. Thank you. Bill's asking, how does your secondary mind type play into it? So originally, first, for some of the people here, explain the fact that we have a primary, secondary, and even a tertiary mind type, please.
Yeah, and this is a very complex question when it comes to money. So there's not a super easy answer to it, but I'll give you my best shot. So, first of all, your primary mind type is basically why you do what you do. It's the thing that made you survive early on. It is so deeply buried in the primitive part of your brain that it's not going to change at all. How it shows up, though, is often your secondary mind type, right? The how. How does your why manifest? And so a lot of times, let's just say someone is a problem. Well, I'll take my own self. My primary mind type is the problem solver. My secondary is the giver. I really want to serve others and contribute to others, but it has to make sense to me. So I do actually contribute a fair amount of money, not only to causes, but also to my own family, only if it makes sense. So again, contribute to causes, that's the superpower of the giver, secondary, but it has to run through the filter of the problem solver that makes sense out of things. So I get lots of solicitations from political campaigns, blah, 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 blah. None of those make any sense to me. It is very easy for me to ignore those and say no. However, when something does make sense, it's a lot more difficult because secondary mind type is the giver that has as their kryptonite the danger of overcommitment and the difficulty in saying no. So that's that answer to that one. What else you got for me?
Great. Awesome. Let's just go through here. Hey, Dr. Jane, how are you? Long time no see. Asking questions. What about this? What about that? Have you tried? That's the innovator. Bridget was asking, what's the innovator's superpower?
Improvements. They're always able to find better ways of doing things. Innovators are people who have an innate knack to find a better way. They're really good at it and they find it. The challenge obviously is, hey, I got a better way to invest. I'm going over here. I got a better way to invest. I'm going over here. I got a better way to invest as opposed to following Warren Buffett's number one rule of finances, which is don't lose money.
Exactly. Well, here's a subtle thing too that really makes a big difference in the financial models. So for those, well, I don't actually know if anybody knows, but I actually have an MBA in finance. I my specialty was in investments. I was actually an options trader on Wall Street down at Broad Street for about a dozen years. And when I was getting my MBA, the thing that they drilled into us over and over and over again originally. You know how important it is to beat the market averages, right? It's like, are you dumber or smarter than this Standard and Poor's 500 if you just do an index fund and do nothing? The thing that eats up all your profits is switching around because nothing comes for free, right? So the cost for switching, either in a loaded fund that actually has a cost or a commission from your broker or whatever, okay, or this, that, or the other thing, or the tax consequences. The act of switching eats into your long-term gains, so you have to be very, very careful about that.
Mhm.
Okay,
All
so awesome. Linda says, thank you, Ridgley, for running through the mind types. No matter how many times I hear explanations, I learn something new. So that's awesome. And Dr. Art, good to see you. Is that book available? So Ridgley, I am going to share because this is our membership here. Everybody look in the chat here. I'm dropping my personal copy of the book. Okay, so grab that. It's a PDF. It's a rough copy. It's not as neat as the finished copy that I'm holding up here, but enjoy that with our compliments. Now, folks, this book here with the mind types illustrations and everything, and my thing is fuzzy here, so you really can't see it. But I just want to point out, originally had was gracious enough, he and David, who was his co-author, who actually owns one of the most influential funds and wealth management companies, especially down in the Georgia area. They had me to the office. And let me tell you this, folks. This is a multi floor office, big leagues, trading rooms, the whole thing. Okay. And the hallways and the meeting rooms. Originally, I'm going to ask you to describe it. I was floored. I was humbled. This company went full hog on embracing the mind types to the
right.
degree that they made it part and parcel of their interior decoration and decor. So, originally, if you can explain this and paint the picture of like this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. They named various rooms after different mind types. They would have people mind type on a printout like this, looking like this on people's desks so that everybody knew about it. A couple of them had bobbleheads, and then they had mind type depictions on the walls, giant ones, 8 feet wide,
The
10
whole thing
feet
was a
high,
mural of
all throughout the entire office. It was super
it would
cool.
be like the innovators meeting room. There would be the problem solver room. I mean, it was like very, very cool. And
Yeah.
if you look through the book, you'll see it's not in the copy that I sent you, but the published copy, which is now out of print, but has, all the little characters and the cartoons and all of that in there. So it's like very uber cool.
Yep. It was fun.
Okay,
That was
awesome.
great.
So folks, I just wanted to we have to move on, but I just wanted to give you a sense of the depth of mind types and how it can apply to so many different areas. I mean, originally, and I have literally spent 20 years developing this thing, and the depth of this thing is like incredible. And
Yep.
now that you guys have asked us, have green lighted the further exploration of mind types and its impact on everything, especially as a topic during these mind types after dark sessions, we have so much to share with you all. I mean, Ridgley has done an incredible ton of work, with this. Ridgley, awesome work, Ridgley.
Thank you, man. Let's jump in and help some people. What do we
Okay, so let's bring Bridget on, and you can set the stage with Bridget. We can bring on Bridget's people, and you can work your magic.
or you can. Hey, man, you're the one with the tools. I
Uh,
think it's awesome.
I think this one might require the old Ridgley juice.
We'll see.
Hubert, if you could bring Robin Abrams.
She's coming already.
Oh, good. Okay, you got her name. Good.
Yep, we're ready.
Hey, Bridget, good to see you.
Too.
Hey, Robin.
Hey
Welcome,
there.
welcome,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All
Pleasure to
right, what
meet
are
you.
we doing here? Come
Want to
on,
set the
Bridget,
stage,
lay it
Bridget?
on.
Yeah, so we're working with a client, and Robin is the partner with the marketing and stuff. And they have two websites, but they're not converting, and they're not really speaking to what the business is. So they're not getting the engagement. So I spent the last 2 hours before this meeting with Robin and also Susan going through some of your prompts. And we took their two websites, we combined them into one. And I sent you the chat GPT link. And then we went through partner centric and limbic messages, and then, assigned the limbic messages to each page. And they were just Godsmacks. It's like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then I said, we haven't even started yet. Wait till we get to the target client. And so we went through that as well. And it's like both Susan and Robin were just like, oh my God, Bridget, why didn't you tell us this sooner? So I want Robin to kind of express, because she can describe it so much better than I can. We want to redesign the website to speak to the different aspects of what they're offering now, because they're giving them three choices. So Robin, I'll let you take it over.
Well,
Yeah, tell
thank
us
you.
about the business. Tell us who the clients are, what the offer is, that kind of thing. Give
Sure.
us a sense. Like, it's if you're talking, somebody says, "Hey, what do you do, Robin?" You know.
So, so we actually work in the personal injury space where we educate medical providers, and that would be from chiropractors, acupuncturists, physical therapists, or MDs, any specialist that accepts personal injury patients on lien. And it started out that we advocated on their behalf. We were the only company to champion for their rights to get them properly paid. And we only did that in California. And what we realized is we were doing the fishing for all of these doctors. They weren't learning how to fish. They do not learn this in school. So they accept personal injury patients. They accept it on a lien, which means they agree to wait to be paid. But what happens is then these PI attorneys come at them, and they could be very difficult, and they use tricks and tactics to get them to reduce their bills, and they're abusive, and it's a very challenging scenario for them. So they're not only waiting, but they're getting their bill sliced. So we decided to create a coaching training program so we can actually help more providers nationally learn how to out negotiate the attorneys, how to get profitably paid, how to put proper processes in place, which will help support their patient's case, and also how to use personal injury to fuel their practice segments. So now we want to combine those two, offer we can do it for you. We teach you how to do it yourself, or some combination of both. We've never married them before. They've always been very distinctly different. And we only did one in California. The coaching program we do nationally. Now we want to do both as an option of services.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I can see why that's challenging for sure. Yeah,
So
because
wait,
you're
what
talking
happened?
two totally different demographics there.
Well, the client is the same. It's that the option of what we do to help them is different.
Mm-hmm.
The path of least resistance is they didn't know that there was a solution. So now that they do, they can turn it over to us and we'll go to bat for them. But in the long run, for their financial trajectory of their practice, their valuations, they're not changing themselves drastically if they don't learn to do it like we can for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our goal, to upskill them, to upskill their staff.
So a couple of quick questions, Robin, that
Sure.
come to mind, please. So when you teach them how to do it, is that via a a course or Zoom coaching or a combination thereof? Or
Great question. We have a portal which houses, it's a repository of a lot of resources, which includes courses and toolkits and a library of videos. But we also do weekly coaching calls where people learn, just like we're learning from you, they learn from us. They can ask us anything. We call them Ask Mike Anythings. And the reality is that they learn from each other because the situations are typically not that unique to a provider. Other providers have experienced it, but they also learn from the national leading authority on lien negotiations.
Mhm.
So they do both. We
and
have
the
boot camps, webinars.
and what do you call the learned yourself product?
The do-it-yourself program. We call it the Personal Injury Business Advantage Program. We're giving them the business advantage of PI.
And roughly, what's the cost?
So the initial cost is about $5,000, and after the first 30 days, $379 a month. Most of our clients will have that more than paid for in the first month or two, maybe even this first matter. So if that's an individual sole practitioner or single office, if it's a multi-office, it's a $10,000 and $479 a month. And that, like if you have, personal physical therapy center. So I'll give that as an example. We have one client, 3 offices, high volume. They went from 52% after taking our training, and they're still in it. They're at 80%. So overall, they have significantly improved. Our clients are averaging, so much more. They're putting 400,000 more in their pocket or whatever it might be.
Right.
But they don't know that we exist, or they don't understand how impactful we really can be, because there hasn't been a solution before.
Right. And obviously in that model, the goal is to have them paying continuously. It's just a cost of doing business. Now, the done for you approach, what's the typical cost of that?
So there is no cost up front. What happens is that there is a revenue share. So if they already have an offer, usually it's a lowball offer for someone to want to turn it over to us. Our request is that they turn over all the matters with that firm so we could leverage that to their advantage and get them paid better. Typically, it would be a split between what they're offered and what the result, the negotiation settlement is. But there are various formulas that we use, but it is paid after they get paid.
And how long is the typical length of time till resolution?
So most of the time they've already gotten an offer, and it could take months still. When in personal injury, like my case, took 4 years to settle. So it depends on the stage that they turn it over to us, or there are some clients that will turn over all their AR and we'll just negotiate it on their behalf. But for the most part, it could take months, even sometimes years.
Okay, got it. So let me just mention something to Ridgley. So Ridgley, my thinking was that one is simply a done for you variant of the do it yourself learning type of thing, but actually there, and just so that you all know, Ridgley is a reformed lawyer. So this is like Ridgley's space, okay? But my contribution to this, Ridgley, and observation is that it's not quite the equivalent of, oh, we'll do it for you, meaning it's not necessarily the upsell to the course. They're actually almost two different audiences.
Correct.
The people that are interested in the course truly want to use it as a business tool and understanding PI, as opposed to done for you is like they have no interest actually in learning, and they just want to need to retain you to help them.
Brooke, sometimes it does convert. We do have members that use both services, but prior to now, we've only done that in California. So those outside of California couldn't utilize that service. Our goal now is to grow that nationally as well. I think that there are a lot of people that, whether it's bandwidth, time, staffing concerns, would like to turn it over to us, but we haven't promoted that on this level.
Right. So Richly, before I turn it over to you, my thinking is, Bridget, it's not necessarily like website A and website B becomes website C. Originally, it's almost like website A should be optimized and continue on. Website B should be optimized and continue on. And then there's a website C that's like a combo of them. But at the end of the day, like you have 3 websites going. I'm thinking, of possibilities with that. So Richly, I'll turn it over to you now.
So
by the way, this is an awesome hot seat and case study. This is like something that everybody here can really sink their teeth into. So thank you so much for bringing it to us.
Yeah, and I'm not sure one session is going to be enough. So first thing to bear in mind is that human beings make decisions based on their view of the world. In other words, based on their mind type and so on, and how that mind type is playing out. So if I'm a provider and I'm in this space of I'm a medical provider and I love serving people, that's what I do. I take care of people. I invite them in, even if they've had an injury, situation, yada, 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 etc. The idea that I'm then also going to have the same personality that confronts aggressive lawyers is almost paradoxical. That makes no sense. That's just very difficult. And in fact, the ones that are likely to be that kind of personality are not necessarily likely to be the best type of providers, right? So it's a very unique situation when you think of the human psyche. Who are we talking to? And so I have a much more brutal question, a much more financially mercenary driven question. In terms of the demographics of the clients that you found so far, are they leaning much more on the we are here to serve these people, we are here to take care of people, I don't like confronting these lawyers, or is it more that they're money driven and want to use the services to basically get paid more?
So I think that what happens with them is that there's, you know, a scenario, a situation where they feel they've had enough and they discover that there is a solution provider that can help them, which would be us. And what typically happens is that they are ready to do business better. And they want to get on that high profit highway because they are sick and tired. I'm so sorry. They're sick and tired of their bills being slashed, not being respected, not being paid properly for their services, and they're bringing people back to health, and they are really, caregiving, and that is true, and that would be their first, and foremost, at least in the chiropractic, acupuncture, and physical therapy world. They are definitively givers. When you look at the MDs, the more dollar doctors, they might have a little different scenario on it, but they also have a larger profit margin typically, and they're not doing the hands-on treating. So the way that they approach business is a little bit different, but regardless of what your specialty, they're not taught this in school. It's just, there's no school that educates them on a properly managed personal injury segment. And yet when done right, it should be their best paying segment. There's no insurance write-downs. It's justified treatments. If they learn to code and properly bill and do their SOAP notes, they should be thriving in this segment, but they're not.
Sure. No, I totally get that. And this makes 100% sense to me on multiple levels. It's a great business model. The question then is, how do we reach those people in a way that they start nodding their head in your favor, and that they're willing to take a chance, and that the models are in place? And I can tell you that the biggest thing that comes to my mind, besides the obvious of limbic messaging, partner-centric copy, et cetera, the biggest thing is social proof. This is a space where I would be flooding a website with as much social proof as you had, even to the point of shameless self-promotion using the people that you've served, who you've gotten them a lot more money, so that by definition, they're going to say great things about you. I would have that everywhere, because the biggest obstacle that you're overcoming is this real? Could these people really help me out? I mean, I have such a hard time with these damn lawyers, and and these people are all ragging on me and they're cutting on my really, this thing exists. You people are, that's what I just want to add that as a backdrop, because I think social proof is huge. And there should be some type of a program that is actively soliciting testimonials from every client you get a success story from. Actively, on video if possible. Because if that's at all doable, and plastering that everywhere, the biggest objection you're overcoming is, who are these people, and do I have any reason to trust them? I mean, there's a big gap, because it's a yucky space, right? The space is yucky. It's like, these people are stealing my money, the lowlifes. They're always, we did our best to take care of this person, and now they're trying to cut us out of it, and yada, 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 yada. And you're stepping in to be the solution to that thing. But the feeling behind all that is a difficult space. It's a difficult situation. Are we tracking with me on this a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Bridget, pull up the sites for me, because I purposely made sure I did not look at anything so that
Okay.
I could hear the story first. What's going on? What are we looking for? Because I would want a tremendous emotional type, bam, kind of a message that grabs somebody enough to get them to keep looking and keep exploring. Something super limbic, like you deserve to get paid. Simple, really straightforward. I hadn't even seen anything yet. You deserve to get paid. You deserve to be paid for your services because getting paid matters. I mean, things like bam in your face that strike somebody saying, "You're damn right I deserve to get paid. I took care of that person, and now they're trying to stiff me and la la la." You're something that gets them to start looking enough to see all the other people saying, "I can't believe how much better we're doing now since we've been working with this company because da da da, etc."
So you see my screen.
This is a disaster. So the reason why it's a disaster is because from moment number one, my brain goes, what the hell? There's 17 different fonts on the same page. Short circuits my brain completely. It's so much more complicated than it needs to be. And this, I guess this is a high profit highway concept, isn't clear enough. It's clever, but it's not clear. And when
I
you
assume
can,
we're looking at the do-it-yourself site here.
This is the do-it-yourself site, correct? And
Got it.
there's a book that is coming out that is actually all about getting on the high profit highway and personal injury made easy. So I think that the idea behind this is needs to be changed. We all agree on that. But the idea behind this was that it will be complementary to the book that we have.
yeah. So I'm sorry for just blasting out like that.
No,
Okay,
no, please go
this
for it.
is this is I hate this pretty much 100%. So let me just share a little bit why I hate this so much. It it goes against everything that we teach about limbic messaging that gets people to make a decision in your favor versus neocortex, which causes you to think about what's the meaning and not make a decision. There's way too much complexity. Forgetting the user experience of many different fonts or whatever, I have to figure out what the hell is this all about,
Mhm.
as opposed to initially having a reaction like if at the very top it said something like "You deserve to get paid for your services!" Exclamation point. Suddenly somebody says, "Wow, you're right. I do." Now I'm interested in finding out a little bit more. Then there's a video there, and the video says, and there's a couple of simple questions. Are you tired of being stiffed by personal injury lawyers? Are you da-da-da? A couple questions, couple questions. Watch this video. And then the video breaks it down and says, "Hi, I'm Robin, the ace guru of your future," whatever, something like that. And don't you feel like you deserve to be paid for your services? Of course you did. You took care of these people in such a way that, and yet so many lawyers feel like they have the right to da da da, or whoever the enemy is. Put the enemy right there, right? And then tell a story that brings someone into that space where they're like, "That's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly what happened to me." And then, bam, testimonial. And then so I want you to think in terms of the video. This would be, in my mind, the most powerful thing you could do is super simple in the text, provocative questions, watch this video. And Linda Ross, you're dead right. That's exactly right. I would have someone, yourself, Susan, someone asking questions. Are you tired of being stiffed by personal injury attorneys? Have you been through the process where you did all the work and wanted to be just compensated for what you did in a fair manner and somebody's trying to take it away from you? Bam, testimonial. Yes, that used to be us. And now, ever since we've been working with personal injury made easy, what's happened is that cut back to simple questions. Hit the pain points and the objection in the question. The answer is not given by you. It's given by a testimonial. I don't know if you have these testimonials to do this, but if you do, you're just going to crush it with something like that. Because, yeah, don't take our word for it, et cetera, but make that on a video where Dr. Ed, Dr. Ali, Dr. whoever does this kind of thing, it would be so powerful that would get somebody to then want to explore a lot more. So you get your limbic messaging up front, and then you have your questions thrown at the person to make it all about them. So we're following the formula: limbic messaging, partner centric or client centric copy. And then as you go through all of that, the people answering it is not you. It's the social proof, which is the biggest, the most powerful thing you can possibly do. If you did that, it's a complete overhaul of this site that you just upgraded it by 90%. Bridget, your thoughts on that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if my mic was off. 100%. I think I can't articulate it the way you articulate it. And Robin is in agreement with a lot of this. It's just trying to convince the team players in it. There's some differentiation in their thinking. But like even Susan is part of our team, and she's texting me privately, and she says, this is spot on. You know, this is the problem we're having. And you know, coming from the video testimonials, Robin, I've been, you know, with Ridgley for over 3 years now, and the videos he's creating, we're working on another project that the video they created, the client loves the video. And at first they weren't sure about it, but this morning they gave it so much acknowledgement, like it's the kingpin of having them convert. Would you agree, Ridgley?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice when you're dealing with a company of a bunch of old codgers that their job is they clean the tunnels and the factories for car manufacturers and airplanes like Boeing and Lockheed Martin. That's what they do. Bunch of guys spraying chemicals all over the place. That's what they do. To take that and make it into a limbic message video that they show at every presentation now. And they've had 4 presentations since we did this for them. And they said that 3 of them knocked it out of the park. And
Wow.
in 3 of those, what happened? The people commented on the video, this is a great video. Love this video. Why? Because it tells a story. You have such a great story. It's not about the words at all. It is all about how do we tap into this emotional space, the limbic side of the brain, and then get somebody nodding their head to where they get on the phone and talk to you.
And I want to point out that testimonial occurred in the context of a commodity-driven industrial cleaning service, as commoditized as it gets. And you wouldn't think that like emotionality has anything to do with like, you know, cleaning industrial plants, but like it's, you know, humans are selling it and humans are buying it. And so, you know, it's very much part of it. Now, the advantage that you have, Robin, and Bridget here is that there's an aspect, and originally we've played this very well with other clients. There's an aspect here of that as a medical provider, there's a nobility here that they've provided the service or they're providing the service, which is very noble. And the bad guy, the lawyer on the other side, is trying to like demean that in a way. And it's like, you know, they're impugning, you know, your dedication to your healing profession. And so originally there's that emotionality of that part of it too.
Yeah, for sure, man. Give me this, give me dogs, give me kids. Love those 3, right? Those are like, give me kids, dogs, and stuff, something like this, because it makes it so easy to target the emotional decision-making part of the brain.
Right.
You have a great business model, and if positioned properly, it's almost like an automatic yes.
Yeah. Now, Richard, I think Bridget should show us the other one, the done for you one.
Okay, I'm holding my thoughts. Okay, so this is not as bad as the other one. Okay, this is better. Um,
So wait, just a quick question here. That number 1 outsourced solution, so that's quantifiable, Robin?
Yeah, there is no one that does what we do. So we really are the number one. We are the
okay,
first and only.
okay, but here's the
There.
problem. Now let me tell you what the problem with that is, because it's a big problem.
Mhm.
And it's similar to it's not like I don't hate this site. I hated the other one, but I don't hate this one. And I'm sorry, but it's just Ridgley. You could pick me on a not mind types after dark, and maybe I'm nicer. But no, mind types after dark. You
We
get
agree with you. I agree with you. We say that.
okay.
I won't speak for anyone else.
Neocortex, thinking brain, limbic, decision making brain. I see that, and immediately, with that, in a fraction of a second, without even realizing it, I'm out of my limbic brain and into my neocortex. Really? Says who? According to what? Where's the data? And I'm gone from making a decision in your favor. Gone. Like done. I'm already in my thinking brain. Who are these people? What's it all about? What kind of, do they have any proof of this? Da da da. Which is exactly where you don't want them to
Right. So
be.
I think Ridgley,
Well,
if you can demonstrate to Robin, so Ridgley, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Provide in the limbic format of you deserve, provide a you deserve headline that goes above this, and then we'll see the difference that the limbic messaging approach would make.
I think there could be 3 or 4 different approaches that you could take depending on your knowledge of the marketplace. And I'll run through 3 different limbic scenarios. We believe messages, you deserve messages, and because something matters messages. I'm sure stuff that you probably heard from Bridget already, because Bridget is a great advocate, ambassador, and master of this stuff. So on a we believe basis, right? You could say something like, we believe you deserve, no, I'm going to stop. I'm going to do it slightly differently. We believe in solving your billing problems, right? A second one could be the very simple one. You deserve to get paid for your services, period. The third one could be because getting paid for what you do matters. And somebody sees that at the very top and they go, yeah, damn right I do. And then they have that feeling. And then after they've nodded their head in your favor, it's a lot easier to talk about the what you do. But that first feeling has got to be it can't stop them. And right now, this causes a mental stop right away. Says who? According to what? Where's the data? Show me the numbers. And they're already gone from being in that decision-making space.
Well, the thing I see about both of them is that they're not really clearly articulating what either solution is, which is a big problem too. I mean, you could read it, and even if it grabs you, what do they do?
Sure. So there's 2 pieces, but the first piece is way more important than the second piece. The first piece is to grab them, to touch them in their emotional space so that they want to find out what you do.
Mhm.
It's like fishing. You hook, and then they start coming in your way. But if you don't hook them, you got no fish. And neither of these at this point is triggering the decision-making part of the brain. It's going right up into the thinking brain. What's this all about? According to what says who? If we hook them with a limbic message first, and then below you could say, because you deserve to be paid for your services. Ready to make more money, ready to reduce your stress, ready to protect your staff. I wouldn't do it exactly like this, but something similar could be created that then gets somebody to say, uh-huh, 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 uh-huh. And you enter into the process of inducing a yes state. And when you induce the yes state, then all of a sudden you're winning. You're winning all over the place. And then they will read the how. Then they will tap into, tell us about your process. What is it that you do? Show me some stats. And then you show some stats. You're like, well, alrighty then. These people sound like I at least ought to give them a call. And oh, by the way, you could even not even go that fast, depending, and you'd have to test this. And one of my favorite sayings about online marketing is, in God we trust, all others bring data. So around here, we got to bring data. You could opt them in to a free video series explaining the process. You could opt them into a white paper. You could opt them into the 7 critical things you must know about to collect your money from the people that owe it to you, or whatever it may be, so that somebody gives you their name and email and you can drip on them. There are lots of different ways to play it, But at the beginning, it's got to be, you got to grab them, get them to find out enough to then want to continue and find out more. And then you're already winning all over the place.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Bridget and Robin, I suggest, I suggest, look, let me prescribe some homework and then you guys come back for a future hot seat.
Okay.
Bridget, I think a quick win would be for you to model out a couple of splash pages where you do the graphic header with some limbic messaging on top of it that simply sits on top of the current stuff, right? And so just to try out the impact of what an emotional, limbic message with a compelling, photograph behind it, with much like you did for avatar marketing and so forth. Like the lowest hanging fruit, Ridgley, would just be to limbify what you have by preceding what's currently here with the right limbic message. And then the stakeholders will look and say, okay, I get the difference, because then you have before and after that's instantly understandable.
Well, one thing, except for that first one, you got to reduce the number of fonts and whatever, Bridget. That stuff is like, right? I know you did not create that website, but I'm like, no, that's way brain short circuit, can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Good.
much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Robin, we hope to see you back.
Oh, you will. I know. I appreciate it. I mean, you're spot on with this. It's it doesn't sit well with me, which is really why we went to Bridget and why she brought us here. So
awesome.
Thank you for letting us join your group tonight.
Of course.
Bring a difficult case.
No, we like difficult cases. It makes it far more interesting, and it helps everybody to see how deep this stuff is when you get it. The company that we were referencing earlier, this industrial cleaning company, they do $500,000 a day in revenue. Okay.
Wow.
So just say this is not a small company. And they're in the same boat saying, we need these guys to help us do this. Because people don't, it's hard to get, until you start to get it, it's hard to get it. And when you do get it, you're like, I don't want anything else. It's got to be like this. Right. All right, guys. All right. Thank you very much. Hold on. I'm going to drop you guys out of here for a minute. And thank you, Bridget. Appreciate it.
Just catching up on the chat. Thank you, everybody jumping in. There's all kinds of greatness in the chat. So please capture it, Bridget, and share it with Robin. So Susan said, hit the bullseye. Linda, thank you so much for all the notes that you've been taking for everybody. Welcome and thank you. Yep, so that's great. Okay, so Richard.
Right. You've got to do this fairly quickly, but give us a little bit on this second thing that we're playing with and working with, because this is completely different than most people are used to.
Cool. So I will share my screen. And let me queue up the right tab here. And you know more on the background of this than I do, but I can explain what we're in the process of doing. Now let me just set the stage in terms of the conceptual use of our AI tools in this mastermind. Okay, so there are now dime a dozen AI tools all over the place, and you get what you put in, but more importantly, you get what these tools have been pre-trained to do. Okay, so again, Chat GPT, the G is generative, meaning it generates it on demand. The P is pre-trained, which is very key, meaning a program or an AI system will have a certain data set that it's trained or it learns on, and it's prompted through a set of instructions called prompts. And so when you press the magic button on systems, you get what either the programmer or the training or whatever, it's kind of potluck what you get, okay? And so the way Ridgley and I approach this for our mastermind is that we've actually made these AI tools of ours full-fledged members of our mastermind. Now, I know that sounds a little silly. It sounds a little extraordinary and a little outrageous, okay? But we have 4 AI members of the mastermind. I'll let Ridgley introduce them, just verbally. One is the PAF brain. That's where you dive into
content generation, generate content with PAF brain.
Exactly, in a limbic manner. right? Which I believe Ridgely is unique in the entire
100%.
world.
Totally.
Right? The second thing is images, AI generation of images in a way that doesn't give you all the stupidity stuff with the people with the 3 arms and everything else. There you go, like Ridgely's demonstrating. You have email generation, including funnels and long sequences and everything. And Ridgely, I know for this client, you've been doing some email sequence work. And we also have the copy AI tool. Now, Ridgely, there's a press of a magic button, out comes the output, but there's a key thing to what you should do with the output. And it involves using the concept of the mastermind. So could you please explain that?
Yeah. So what you want to do is when you're using any of our AI tools, and it's kind of crazy that we have all of these, you want to follow the instructions on how to use the tool, whether that's a single click in some cases or filling out some forms and information to educate AI about the tool and then hitting click and it generates something. And then when you come up with the content, you bring it to the mastermind and then we review it on the mastermind. We optimize it on the mastermind. We get feedback from many mastermind members who are very smart and we come up with something that's much better for you. So that's the process. Always a two-part process. Use the tool, bring it to the mastermind.
Yes. And when you it'll get you 80 to 90% of the way. To make that magic happen and get to that 100%, that's where you have a great set of results already. And then you come back and you talk to Ridgely, and Ridgely brings you through Ridgely's private prompt library and that whole sequence. And that's where you go from 95% to like 100%. And is like revolutionary, right? But for you to appreciate that, you must start with the push the button and bring it to the mastermind, right? Okay, so now with that said, let me share my screen and explain what I've done here. This is the PAF brain. Everybody on this call should have access. If you don't have access, contact support at partnerattractionformula.com. Let them know you're a mastermind member and you need help, and I will, they will contact me and we'll get you straightened out so that you have access to all 4 of the AI membership platforms. Okay. Now this one here again is the PAF brain. It's push button simple. Now I've done part 1, which is you enter the URL. Okay, advantageentertainment.com. That's the URL. The site is right here. In the past, I've run it, but the site was slow and it didn't run, but this time it's working fine. So it's basically a one-page site. So it goes and consumes this website and puts it into the PAF brain. You can choose which GPT model to use. I'm using the very latest one that's in here. And instead of going with a specific tool, I ran the full Monty and I got everything generated while we were watching, Bridget talk earlier. And all the results are here. And I took the liberty originally of appending all of that output to the bottom of the document that you worked with the team back and forth about the email sequence. I just put all of that here so that they, would have an easy way to get to it. Okay. Now, basically, what we're going to do next is, again, this consumed the website. And now I know that we got a long email with descriptions and notes and stuff that's actually not on the website. So in that case, what I'm going to do, and I'll also take the results and I'll put it in the document. You click this choose mode drop down right here, and you drop it down, and you'll see that instead of enter URL, you can hit enter text. What that does is gives you a text field to put in whatever you want. So I'm going to go to that email that Ridgely shared with me. I'll do that after this session, and I'll take all of that content and put it in here. And again, run it through the PAF brain. And so Ridgely, that's going to give output, with all of the different solutions. So, the executive summary, and it goes through all the different limbic messages that we have, including things like, I know there's a YouTube video that's on that page that's right here. Well, maybe it's not a YouTube video, but it's embedded somewhere. But should you want to put it on YouTube or anywhere else, one of the outputs is, in fact, this YouTube video description, and it gives you a synopsis of the entire page, and you should take that and put it underneath your uh, video that you put on there. So everything is on here, including the sales letter, the video, and all of that. A wealth of information. We're adding it to this here. And again, that's just stage one because that's the first tool. We're also going to run it through the images, the emails, and so on and so forth, and give you the full Monty. You know, we invite you guys to come on and do a hot seat and go over it, you know, at the review level. But Ridgley, just to let you know, I've used the tools on their behalf and generated the output, and I'll be pasting it into that Google Doc.
Fantastic, because that includes Facebook ads, Instagram posts, LinkedIn stuff, everything. It's super crazy. And as we're wrapping up today, you want to definitely answer Dr. Gene. And Susan, by the way, Susan Wade, nice to see you here. I'm sure one of the things that Susan's probably thinking is, OMG, this is way more than I know what to do with. But it really is pretty incredible what we can do with these tools on AI. So, Hubie.
So Gene, you must have blinked a time or two, but go back into the AI vault, look in the instructions for the PAF brain, and you'll see that all the other tools are now described there as well with instructions. So basically, it's the same way you set up PAF AI brain, you can now use these other tools. And Bridget can tell you, you know, some of these are pretty amazing, and you know, we are now quite happy with these four primary tools as our AI members. And I have to tell you that with the addition and usage of the limbic messaging in the prompt generation, this really is state of the art and unique.
All right, Hubert Lee, when are we meeting again? If I'm not mistaken, next week we're on a Friday, right? If I'm right.
Let me take a look. And let's see. I think so.
Yeah, I've got it as 3 o'clock Eastern time next Friday, 17th.
Okay, good, cool. Okay, awesome. Well, that was an awesome session. And Ridgley, I know you're going to ask me for a joke, so I'll just preempt you and give you. This is not quite a pirate joke, which is my favorite type of joke, but it is a being at sea type of joke, Ridgley. And you'll love this one. Did you hear about the red and the blue ships that collided at sea?
No.
All the sailors were marooned.
Hey, Hubert, what do you call fake spaghetti?
I don't know.
An impasta. All right, people. I'll see you next week on Friday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks for joining the Mind Types Mastermind, especially Mind Types After Dark. We appreciate you, and we will see you again very soon. Have a great night, everybody. Ciao for now.
Take care. Bye-bye.